Hello, welcome to Design Time. I'm Jackie Lacey. Today we're going to continue with our design time, reaching into the elements and principles of design, and we're going to explore space today. And I don't mean that we're going to go up into space on a rocket ship. We're going to look at the space as it's defined as an element of design. And if you look really at space, the definition of the area in, around, and between. And there are basically three types of space that you want to take into consideration and keep in mind as you are competing during those competitions that are going on during the summer, or if you possibly are reaching for your certification this year at the AIFD National Symposium in Las Vegas, or possibly certification in your state at the state level during the summer. When we talk about space, as I said, we have three basic types of space that we want to discuss today. That's positive space. Positive space you can actually touch. It's something that's occupying that space. Anything that you can see and touch has space or takes up space. The other two are negative space, which is something that is deliberately created when we're trying to develop, or we're going to most likely be using it to do what we do in our shops and on events, but sell space by using that negative space and purposely creating an area that has no space or no product in it, to make things appear larger, look taller, whatever the case may be. And then void. Void is something that happens naturally. If we look in between these two pussy willow blooms right here, there's a void, there's no space that's directly in there, but we did not create that. We did not do that to purposely add in something or use it as a design element. So remember, positive space, negative space, and void. And when it comes to negative space, which means nothing, and void, which means nothing, negative you create, void happens naturally or occurs as you're placing things. Now all this can be found on page 100, 101 in the AIFD Guide to Floral Design, which you'll want to make sure that you have thoroughly read through and that you understand the meaning of space and how to use it to your benefit. And let's talk about that a little bit. When we start to design something, take this particular piece that we've already started with here. We have layered in a couple of pieces of birch, which is really trendy right now. It adds an element of texture in here. We're creating space in between, and then we're going to put in positive product as we start to develop that by what we add in, that now all of a sudden is filling that space. So now it becomes a positive. We've used negative space, filled it with positive space, but as we look at this texturally, we can see that there's a difference, there's a gap in there. So that's one way that we can look at negative and positive space. As you begin to utilize various products and you want them to perhaps look larger than they do, here we're going to play off of the curve of this natural, beautiful sago palm frond that we have added in. And now I'm going to add in a second palm frond, but see how I'm creating this negative space in here? By making that look wider, I'm starting to taper it down, and the eye will be drawn down into whatever we're going to put in right here. So it's a way to bring focus back into a design, just like we did with this piece here. By using the natural curve of the pussy willow, we've created negative space in there that is void of any product. To make it look a little wider, a little larger, we're continuing to focus the eye back in by placing this one down here. We've done some basing techniques by adding these in here. And then if I wanted to just emphasize that I am manipulating some products here, I could easily take two of those chrysanthemums and add those in an interesting way to start to bring some of that focus back in. Again, I've created negative and void space in this design by adding these on the wires and then manipulating them. Same thing can be done with foliage. As you start to manipulate your foliage, a lot of us love to use the aspidistra leaves and to curve them. We're going to sort of stick it right back into itself here. Now we've created that loop. We're going to add it into the design, sort of to cover our mechanics down here. And we have created a void naturally by curving that, but we're using that as negative space to look larger, to create that curve, to add in some texture, some movement with the way we're designing that. If we manipulate that same sago palm that we talked about over here, I have removed the product. I have created this negative space to add to that geometric shape that we might be adding in to a possible design, or by manipulating the foliage and creating that specific look to what we're adding in there. I can continue to play off of that by removing more of the foliage, keeping with that space, and then with the way that I'm going to place it in the design itself, where I continue to create that negative space with the way that I've manipulated the foliage, adds in some dimension, it adds in some interest in what we're doing. We can continue to build on this with our products as we're putting them in there. A lot of times you'll see designers start to layer or to create height within a design by removing some of the foliage from this particular chrysanthemum here. We're going to put one down low to the lip. We're bringing our color forward. We're adding our floral product in an interesting way. When we want to bring the eye down, we might want to put a third one in there. As we start to terrace these designs, we've added in both negative and void space. The void happens in between the leaf, which was there naturally, and the negative space is where we have placed them purposely in a specific design. So don't get your negative and your void space confused. Make sure that you thoughtfully place your products in a way that you can utilize that negative space to make things look taller, wider, more interesting on the bottom if you're doing something very textural down around your basing techniques, or by adding in some of those techniques and accents that you might add into a design. Don't overdo it though. Because remember, with any good design, when an evaluator looks at it, you want it to be mechanically sound, mechanically perfect, all of your foam is covered, all of your pieces that you have manipulated are exactly measured so that they come out looking perfect in the design. Make your mechanics perfect, and then do not add more than about 3 techniques, so that the evaluators or the judges, if you're doing a competition, can easily see that you know how to manipulate those elements and principles. You know how to use them to your advantage, and that you've used them in the correct manner. This is so important for those people that are testing or those that are competing against each other. You want to make sure that you're on a fair and equitable ground when you're competing with others. Bone up on those elements and principles, and don't hesitate to ask us questions. If you would like to see us specifically discuss one of the elements or principles or an aspect of that, reach out to us on Facebook. Shoot us a message or a comment so that we can continue to provide you with the education that you want for those competitions and certifications during this year. We're here for you and want to participate. Also, be sure and look on our website, floriologyinstitute.com, for any upcoming seminars, webinars, or courses, such as our certification and competition that's coming up in June, with all the details, the cost, and the dates. We're here for you, and we want to make sure that you're a success. Join us again next time for Design Time. If you enjoyed that video and you would like to see more, click the subscribe button.